Hey guys, it's Emma. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing an end of the year book tag. I saw Destiny do this video. I'm pretty sure Sarah Caroli, booktubers queens. Destiny originally did this video. She asked her followers for questions. Those are the questions I'm using today. Everyone has been using them. So I'll put them on the screen just in case you guys want to do it yourself for fun. But I have all my answers written down just so I don't forget. I was going to do it like going along the way, but that would have taken way longer. I have my answers prepared, books prepared. Let me start off by saying that a lot of these books are kind of books that came out a while ago, but I read them this year because this year I had like a better reading year. I was more into reading than last year. So a lot of the books are kind of old, but I read them this year, so I'm using them in this book tag. Also, I'm using more than one book for some of the questions. For most of the questions, I'm using more than one book just to keep this more entertaining. We're gonna start, and the first question is the most disappointing read of the year. For this, I have Meet Me at the Lake by Cardi Fortune. So this is the same author that wrote Every Summer After. I actually did a reading vlog reading that book last year, I'm pretty sure. And I really enjoyed that book. The summer vibes were like great. The plot was great. So everyone was like excited for this book. And then everyone read it and then just collectively agreed that we didn't like it. So basically it's about this girl that her mom like owned this like hotel or inn, and she has to go work it now. And she always said like she wasn't gonna go there. And then she runs into this guy that she hasn't talked to in like 10 years. She only had one good day with him and she runs into him again. And you're seeing them in that one day in the past and then coming back to the present. But I honestly did not feel a connection with them for some reason. Like I wasn't connected to the characters. I didn't feel a like great connection there for some reason. Because it was just weird to me like how one day was enough for them to like be like, oh my god, I've been waiting to see you. It was just a little weird to me. So this is the first book for that question. And another book for that question is Off to the Races, because this is the first book in the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. If you don't know, Elsie Silver wrote the popular Chestnut Spring series, but she came out with this series before. So I wanted to get into that series because I was like, it's Elsie Silver, like I love her, so I wanted to read some of her old books. And I'm guessing that's the first book she wrote, I'm not sure, but I did not enjoy it. I gave that book 2.5 stars. I don't know, I just felt like, again, I didn't feel a connection with the characters. It was just really quick. I don't know, it was just really disappointing because it was Elsie Silver, so I was like, oh, it's gonna be good. I love the Chestnut Spring series. And then I got into that book and it felt like a whole different author was writing it. Yeah. That's that. The next question is Underdog Book of the Year. I have After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Again, I don't know when this book came out, but I read it this year pretty recently and I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars, I think. Basically what this book is, it's about a couple. They're like married. They've been having a lot of problems and it got to like their last straw that they were like, we need to do something about this. Like we either need to divorce, separate, a break, like whatever. They didn't know. They're like, let's go on a break for a year. And you follow along mainly the girl main character, but you also see some glimpses of the guy main character and how he's going with his life. I feel like it doesn't sound that interesting when I'm telling you right now. It didn't sound interesting when I read the back. I was like, I'm probably not gonna like this book, to be honest, but I literally loved it. It surprised me because it's not like the typical like romance book, like oh they're so cute. Like it's like them trying to rebuild something that fell apart. I loved it. I feel like this book changed my life. Not to be dramatic, but yeah, I love this book and it definitely surprised me. Next question is a book that was overhyped, and for this one I'm using The Cruel Prince. This book came out a while ago, I'm pretty sure, but I read it this year and I honestly did not like it because this was advertised to me as a romance, like fantasy book. Like I knew it was fantasy, but I heard that there was romance in this, and let me tell you, there's literally, like at least in the first book, there's like no romance, like at all, I would say. It's only in like the last book that you get like a slight bit more of the romance. Yeah, I honestly feel like this book was overhyped because it was advertised to me wrong. Like if I knew that it was gonna be pure fantasy, and especially there's a lot of politics in this book, like it's not really like a fun fantasy book. Like there's a lot that you have to remember and there's just a lot of worlds, a lot of characters, and I was like not enjoying it. And if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have even read this book, but considering I did, I feel like it was just way overhyped and I didn't really enjoy it. Next question is favorite book couple of the year. Now I have 3 couples for this. First couple I have is Harriet and Win in Happy Place. Oh, I love them so much. It's actually about a friend group, but you follow the two main characters, Harriet and Wynne. So basically, Harriet and Wynne got engaged. I'm pretty sure not married. They got engaged. They were perfect, like in college. They met in college, got engaged, whatever, and they were like this perfect couple that all their friends like loved. And then they broke up, and 5 months later, like a few months later, they have to go to this place with the friend group. They're like forced to go, but they haven't told any of their friends that they've split and they don't want to tell them. So they have to go and act like they're still together. And so it's like kind of fake dating, you know? I ate this up. You could just tell how much they like each other, how much they love each other. The quotes in this book are beautiful. The friendship is beautiful, but to talk about the couple, they are so cute. The way that he like admired her in the book, there's so many things in this book where like he admires her and you could just tell he still liked her this whole time. And yeah, they were a really cute couple. Next book is another Emily Henry book, and it was Beach Read. I actually reread this book this year because I read it last year, but I wanted to read it again this year in the summer, and I'm so glad I did because January and Gus are literally so cute. They're like the typical couple that's always like messing around with each other, like being sarcastic with each other, but they also know like when to be romantic and cute. And that's just like the perfect mix, and they're honestly like meant to be together. And another couple that's like kind of slept on was Noah and Amelia. I feel like Noah literally did anything and everything for this girl. He was trying so hard to like not fall for her, and he just couldn't help it. And they're just cute. So that's all I gotta say about that one. Next question is favorite main characters of the year. So this one, I also have 3 people. First one, I threw in a boy in here because I was like, why not? So I threw in Nash from Things We Hide from the Light. So I didn't really enjoy this book that much, but Nash in this book, if they would have done this book better, it could have been like a high 4 stars. Nash low-key carried like the rating for this book. I loved Nash. I loved the way he was so patient with the girl in this book, the type of man that every girl wants. He was like the small town hero. Everyone loved him. He was this sweetheart compared to his brother. I loved him. Another boy character I would talk about, but he's gonna be, or like this book is gonna be in a lot of the future questions coming up, is Julian from Daisy Hates. I love this man. I don't have enough words to say about him. Like, when I think about the book, it breaks my heart how much he went through and how much he did for the characters in that book. Like, no one realizes how much he did for everyone else, and like not even for him, and it breaks my heart. But we're not gonna get into that too much because he's gonna be in future books. But Julian from Daisy Hates. Next, I have 2 girl main characters, and that is Daisy Hates, which is Julian's sister actually. But I loved how much of a girl boss she was. Some people actually thought she's like really annoying, but I kind of liked her. Like, I feel like in the real world I would be really like close with her. Like, I would literally be best friends with her. I loved her so much, probably more than Magnolia. If we're thinking like if I'm gonna be friends with one of them, I'd definitely be friends with Daisy Hates. Like, I feel like Magnolia would literally be like, get away from me. Yeah, I love Daisy Hates. Next book character, I talked about this in my recent video, but Willa from Heartless, she owns my heart. She literally took the spot of favorite female main character ever. Like, I literally love her. I felt connected to her this whole book. I felt like if I was a character in a book, she would be me, or she would be my best friend in the real life. It was just like everything about her. I don't even know how to explain it. Just read this book. And how you feel about Willa is how you feel about me, because I'll either be her or be best friends with her. Yeah, I loved her so much. Next is a book that surprised me. Since I already talked about this book, I'm not gonna talk too much, but after I do, like I said, this book, it's not the typical like romance, like cute couple book that you're expecting. It's literally a couple rebuilding like their marriage and trying to fix problems that are going on in their own personal life with their family too, with each other. And I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it because of that aspect, but I love this book so much, and I think everyone should read this book. Next book is Magnolia Parks. Didn't know if I was gonna like this book because all I had heard was that it was like Gossip Girl, a lot of drama, and I didn't know if I was gonna enjoy like all that drama going on, because when I read this, I was like only into romance. Like, I knew I only liked romance, and this book also isn't really romance. It's more like literally like Gossip Girl. Like, there's romance in there, but there's like a lot of drama, and the couples aren't really like healthy. They're like more toxic, and it's literally how this book is. After I read this first book, I went crazy. I got the other 3, read the other 3, and I became obsessed, and I'm so happy I read this series because it's literally my favorite book, my favorite series, and it just surprised me how much I fell in love with this book because it's just amazing in my eyes now. Last book that surprised me, Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I actually read this in a vlog. It was the Reading Until I Find a 5-star, and this was the book I gave 5 stars. It actually surprised me because I'd never really heard like great things about this book. Like people had just read it, but no one like raved about like how much they liked it or that it was a good book. So I was like, okay, this is just gonna be like a book that I'm gonna feel whatever about. No, I literally love this book. I gave it 5 stars. The way you feel towards these characters, or the way I felt towards these characters in this book, I like felt like I had Kenna's feelings. I just felt so hurt for her. Like I felt like I was her. Colleen Hoover, that's why I'm surprised about like Colleen Hoover. No one's like really liking her now for some reason, and like her books. So shocked on how she was able to write like both sides of the story, have you be like conflicted too with the characters in the book. Yeah, this book just honestly really surprised me just because no one had ever really like talked about it being such a good book, and I think it's a really good book. Next question is new favorite authors you discovered this year. For this one, I obviously wrote down Jessa Hastings. The way she wrote this whole Magnolia Park Stacey Hates series books, like the quotes in this book are crazy. I literally have like almost every page highlighted in this book. Just everything she wrote in this book is beautiful, and I am actually really excited to read her new book that came out. I'm pretty sure it's like a fantasy. It's like Peter Pan inspired, and I really want to read that book because it's Jessa Hastings, so I'm sure I'll love it. Another author is obviously Elsie Silver. As soon as I read Flawless and I recently read Heartless, I knew I was gonna love it, especially because she writes country romances, and if you don't know me, I'm like a country girl at heart, and all her books are country from what she's written, at least, I'm pretty sure, and I was obsessed as soon as I got into this series. Next question is happiest read of the year. For this one, I have 3 books. First book is The Summer of Broken Rules. I actually reread this book this year because I read it last year for the first time. I gave it 5 stars, reread it this year, also gave it 5 stars again. I love this book. If you don't know what it's about this girl that she has to go back to this place that she used to go to all the time, Martha's Vineyard, and it's a family vacation that literally her whole family meets there. They all have their own like little houses around each other. It's like this whole family. It even gives you like a family chart in the beginning so that you know like who's related to who. Her sister just passed away, so she doesn't really like want to speak to anyone, but once she gets there, she sees her family. She's kind of warming up to them. She sees all the people that she kind of shut out and never talked to, and then she also meets this guy that's kind of breaking her out of her shell while they play a game of assassin. That's honestly probably my favorite part about this book, like the game of assassin that the whole family plays, and it's just so fun. Like you honestly wish you're a part of their family. Like I literally wish like they were my family. This book just gives the best vibes ever. I was so happy reading this, especially in the summer is like when you should be reading it, and yeah, I suggest this book to literally everyone. It's such a good book. Next book I already talked about, but Happy Place by Emily Henry. Like I said, this book takes place in like a summery setting, and then it's like these group of friends that are hanging out with each other. You get the best vibes, and kind of like Summer of Broken Rules, you wish you were a part of their friend group because they're all just so fun. The things they do is so fun. And then last book is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Actually found on Instagram, and I was like, oh, that's a cute book for the fall, so I read it in the fall. I gave it like 3.5 stars, I think. The reason why it made me happy is because the vibes in that book were great. That's kind of what carried the rating, like pretty high. 3.5 stars isn't really bad. The vibes in that book were so good, especially for the fall. Like literally only if you read it in the fall, you get the perfect vibes from that book. Everything that goes on in that book is just gonna make you really happy. Next question is the most frustrating book you read. I have Tell Me Lies. I recently read this in a reading vlog right before this. This book was honestly so frustrating because kind of like I did dislike the guy in this book, and it's so frustrating the way that she is so like clueless to how he's acting and just kind of let him do whatever he wanted. And then it's frustrating how like you're in his thoughts and like how he's thinking. It's frustrating because it's like, you know, guys in real life that act like this, and it's like, wow, like this is literally how they think, and it's just frustrating in general. It was entertaining. It's a really toxic book. It was entertaining, but it was really frustrating, to be honest. And another book that was frustrating was Things We Hide from the Light. Like I said, this book I didn't really enjoy, which I've heard a lot that the second book in this series isn't like the best because it's also really thick. Things We Never Got Over was really good. I gave this book like 4.5 stars. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the plot, the romance, everything I really liked. But this book, the romance was really slow. But you'd think like if the romance is slow, then the plot of the book should be a little bit quicker. But no, like everything in this book was super slow, and it was just frustrating me because it was going slow. This is the thickness of the book. I would be like here, and I was like, it's going so slow and I still have this much left. So that's why it was just frustrating. Like I just kind of wanted to get it over with. Next question is best adaptation of the year, which is like book from TV or book to whatever. And I'm honestly just gonna say The Summer I Turned Pretty because I did watch the adaptation of, where'd it go? I watched the adaptation of Tell Me Lies because it was on like Hulu, and I watched it and I didn't really enjoy it because they changed a lot that happened in the book. There were so many things in the book that I wanted to see happen and they didn't show it in the movie. They had the same concept of like the toxicity and all that, but it honestly felt like I was not watching the book that I just read. So that's why I didn't really like it. But The Summer I Turned Pretty was really good. I enjoyed it. I love that whole series, and I'm so excited to watch the 3rd season. And I'm pretty sure it's coming out in like 2025, so I'm gonna cry, but it's okay. So the next 2 questions are the longest book you read this year and the shortest book you read this year. So longest book I read this year was Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. I didn't know that book was this long. I thought like this one was probably longer, which I think it is, to be honest, but on Goodreads it said that this one was longer. So this book, it says it's 524 pages, but this book says it's 574. So I don't really know. It's probably this one, but Goodreads said this book. And honestly, the length of this book was perfect. I could have this much of the book and I will still read anything Magnolia Parks because I love this series and the characters and everything about it. And then the shortest book I read this year was Out of the Gate by Elsie Silver. This book was a novella between the Gold Rush Ranch books. So it was Off to the Races, and then it was Out of the Gate, and then the next one was a photo finish. I didn't notice that there was like a novella, so I had read Off to the Races, photo finish, and then went back to Out of the Gate, but it doesn't really matter what order you read it in. But that book actually was not bad for the length of it. It was like perfect to me. I didn't need less, I didn't need more, and it gave what it had to give, and it was a pretty good book. Next question is fave covers of the year. So for this, obviously, I'm so sorry for the amount of times I brought these books up, but the Magnolia Parks covers, these covers, not the new ones, are literally so pretty. The detail in these covers, once you read the book and you go and look at every single thing, you will understand why there's so many things. Even just these oranges that are on the ground, you understand what they're about. The deer, you understand what the deer is for. Like, I could literally stare at these covers all day. I didn't see that. The tree says BJ and then MP. Magnolia Parks and BJ. And then this book, to the Daisy, all the Daisy Hates covers. Like, look at the Daisy Hates cover. This one is beautiful. Also, a book I haven't read that the cover is really pretty is Powerless. I'm obsessed with this cover. I don't know what it is. I just like love it. Like the color scheme, the font of the like title. I love it, and I'm really excited to read this book actually. So that one, and then also just the Chestnut Springs books. These covers specifically are so pretty, like with the mirror. Next question is a book you haven't stopped thinking about. You guys are gonna like be annoyed with me. I have to say it. Literally, the Magnolia Park series. I love these books with a passion. I have the other book. I don't know where it went, actually. Oh, it's right here. I love these books so much. I never stopped thinking about these books. I'm just so happy I read these books. So we're not gonna spend too much time on that since I've mentioned them so much. Cringiest book you read this year. So I have 3 books for this question, actually. First book is Off to the Races. Like I said, I didn't really connect with the characters in this book, and also sometimes the things they said were kind of cringy, and that's why I like didn't really connect to them, because they were like adults saying these like weird things and thinking weird things and doing weird things, and I was just like, ugh, like, you know, cringe. Another book was Thousand Boy Kisses. This book came out a while ago, but I read it this year at the like beginning of the year, and I didn't really like it, but that's kind of because it's a young adult. It's not even young adult, they're like kind of kids, like they're like 15, 16. It just kind of cringed me out, but like also I can't really blame it because they are like kids, so it's not gonna be like the best like monologue, I don't know. And the last book for this question is Twisted Love. I love the second book, Twisted Games. Didn't love it, but like it was better than this one and it was a good book. But Twisted Love, oh my god, like some of the things said in this book were terribly cringy, and there was something that he said, something about Lion's Den, that I was like, what is he talking about? And then he starts singing in this book too, randomly. And I did not know he could sing. I don't know, I can't find the quote, but he says something about like, be scared of the lion's den or like something like that, or like be scared of the lion. And he's talking about himself. I don't know, this whole book was like really cringy to me. Next question is an unpopular book you loved. I tried bringing like a book I haven't mentioned yet into this. And that book is Layla by Colleen Hoover. This book I gave 4.5 stars. I think it was like the second book I read this year. And this book is not talked about a lot, especially that it's Colleen Hoover. And out of like all of Colleen Hoover's books, not a lot of people talk about this one. I went into this book kind of blind. Like I did not know what was going on in this book. And I think that's why I like really enjoyed it. Basically, it's about this couple that his girlfriend or wife, I don't know what she is, she gets into this accident and she spends like days in the hospital, and then when she recovers, she's like a completely different person. I can't remember if she like doesn't remember who he is, or like she does and she's just acting like different towards him, and he's just like falling out of love for her. I'm like reading because I don't know what's like a spoiler or not for this book. But it says, feeling distant from Layla, Leeds soon finds solace in Willow, another guest of the B&B, with whom he forms a connection through their shared concerns. As his curiosity for Willow grows, his decision to help her find answers puts him in direct conflict with Layla's well-being. Leeds soon realizes he has to make a choice because he can't help both of them, but if he makes the wrong choice, it could be detrimental for all of them. So you would think by reading that it's a love triangle, but it isn't, because the plot twist at the end of this book is absolutely insane. I feel like it's crazy that this book is not talked about because I really enjoyed it. The plot, the romance, well, there's not really, this book is really romance. It's more like the plot in this book is really good. This is a book that like not a lot of people talk about that like you should read. Next question is, what was the highest and lowest rated book on your Goodreads, and if I agree with the rating. So highest rated book on my Goodreads is Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. I completely agree. The rating on Goodreads is literally like 5 stars, because who would dislike this book? And who would dislike the characters in this book? Like everything about this book is absolutely perfect, and if you don't like this book, you're absolutely insane, because everything about this book is perfect. So yes, I agree with the rating on Goodreads. And the lowest rated book on Goodreads was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which I said is only good for the fall vibes, and I think the rating was like a 3 something. Isn't a bad rating, and I feel like I do agree with it, because of course like you're only gonna read it in the fall time. Like Christmas books you're not gonna read in the middle of like June, so I understand why it has like the lowest rating. So I do agree with it, but I don't agree with it like in a bad way, you know, because it's not like gonna be a popular book to read like The Pumpkin Spice Cafe in the middle of like spring or summer, you know what I mean? So I do agree with the 2 ratings. Next question is fave quotes of the year. I have a few quotes for this one. So I got quotes from After I Do, Happy Place, and Daisy Hates. I could get quotes from literally every single book I've read, but I picked like the ones that I remember having like a reaction to these quotes. So the first book I had was Happy Place. I have 2 quotes. Also, if you don't want like a spoiler on quotes, skip to this time frame so that you guys like don't hear quotes if that's like a thing you don't want. On page 149 of Happy Place, he laughs against my cheek. I wish I could swallow the sound, that it would put down roots in my stomach and grow through me like a seed. Like, are you kidding me? Do people even think like that? And another quote is literally, I had this whole thing here because it was too much for me to highlight. It's that as soon as I climb under the sheets, it's like he hasn't left at all, only multiplied. Every breeze from the cracked window is his mouth. Every brush of the sheets is his hand, moving across my thigh, over the curve of my stomach. Every creak of the settling house in his voice, tell me to kiss you. I try to think about anything else. My mind is caught on him. Like, that's how you know this is a book quote, because no one's thinking like this in real life. Next quote is from After I Do. This book also, surprisingly, had a lot of like good quotes. This quote is more like reflecting. A lot of this book is like reflecting. Like, that's why I said like it like changed my life. Not to be dramatic, but this quote says, why do we undervalue things when we have them? Why is it only on the verge of losing something that we see how much we need it? You really gotta sit back and think about it. And there's so many things that I underlined in this book that you really think about. Next is from Daisy Hates, the first Daisy Hates. And I've talked about this quote before. I don't know when. I think it was like when I was doing one of my wrap-ups or something. But these 2 pages of quotes, I just can't. So I think I'm gonna read all of them, to be honest. It says, the planets lose track of their orbits, the birds are poets now, and all the songs written before this and all the ones that'll come after this are about this moment. About how when we're standing, my ear rests right where his heart is. How one hand of his swallows the whole half of my waist. I'm a flower and he's the whole entire sun, and he'll wilt me away. The planets of us aligning out there, like our bodies, are in here. I think I understand for a fleeting moment why everything that's bad and painful and sad is worth it if you love someone. Because I'll remember how he's looking at me now forever. Last one, I think. Yeah, last one. From this book. The feel of him is my favorite thing in the world. For all of his history and all of time, write it down, ring the town bell, and tell the scribes. I'll wear it on my heart sleeve forever that I love him. That is my favorite quote, probably, in this book. I was gonna say in the whole series, but I don't really know. Last is in Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, and I have 4 quotes to talk about. So we're gonna go through it pretty quick. So first quote, his face cracks into the best smile that I've ever seen and will ever see. Because his face is F the Mona Lisa, screw the Last Supper, never think of Michelangelo's David again. They all pale compared to him in front of me. I can't. Daisy and her brother Julian, they're like obsessed with like paintings and all that. So she's basically like talking about paintings there, if you didn't catch that. Next quote, this is the one that everyone quotes when they think of this book, Daisy Hates specifically. It says, she is the goddess in the Botticelli clamshell. I don't know if that's how you say it. Her eyes are the water lilies in Monet's pond. She is the hand of God reaching down to mankind. Klimt's kiss is a portrait of us, and I'm gonna seal it. Take it, make it mine, make her mine too. Maybe do that one first. And then last quote I'm going to talk about from this book, a little bit towards the end actually. I love him. He's all I want. He's all I think about. Everything I didn't want or believe about love, I want and believe in it with him. And loving him has undone me wide open. Yeah, love those books. Book with the most unique concept. I feel like this question would kind of go for like fantasy reads, but like I said, I didn't really read like fantasy reads this year. So I would say Layla. I don't want to talk about the plot too much because it's more interesting and entertaining when you go into it blind, but the concept of this book is crazy. The plot twist, everything about this book is just really unique. Another book is The Dead Romantics. Everyone really likes this book. Personally, I didn't really enjoy it, but the concept of the book is really interesting. It says Florence Day is the ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry, and she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she no longer believes in love. It's as good as dead. When her new editor, a too handsome mountain of a man, won't give her an extension on her book deadline, Florence prepares to kiss her career goodbye, but then she gets a phone call she never wanted to receive, and she must return home for the first time in a decade to help her family bury her beloved father. And then blah blah blah. It says, until she finds a ghost standing at the funeral parlor's front door, just as broad and infuriatingly handsome as ever, and he's just as confused about why he's there as she is. So basically she could see this ghost. Not super unique, but it's pretty unique if you see ghosts, to be honest. And last question, a book that you would reread. I didn't write down too many books because I did have 2 rereads this year, which was Summer of Broken Rules and Beach Read. So I would definitely probably reread these again, to be honest, but I didn't mention them since I already reread them. But books for next year that I read this year and will probably want to reread is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book just gives off the best summer vibes, makes me happy. Why wouldn't I want to read a book that made me happy? And of course, we probably already know what series I'm going to say, and that's the Magnolia Park series. I want to read all of these books next year. Maybe one. I want to reread at least the first one next year, because just going through these quotes again made me miss the book so much, and I just need to reread at least the first one, if not all of them next year, because these books are amazing. So those are all the questions I am answering today for the end of the year book tag. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you know when I post my next video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.